Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. You might know me already and a couple of my previous videos. This week we have a special guest here on this channel, maybe Ahsan. In a few words, would you like to describe yourself briefly and introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you, Hans, for inviting me on your channel. So, a few words about me. My name is Ahsan. I came to Germany in 2015 as a master's student. I studied biomedical engineering in Black Forest, and I have been working as a full time researcher since 2017. Different projects. Sometimes like previously I was working in medical engineering projects. Now I'm more on the let's say automotive industry, and on the side I have this YouTube channel Ahsan Finance since 2020, end of 2020, so about 5 years now.
Nice. Okay, that's really a long time. Yeah, congrats to that. And you have like I saw that on your channel, 30,000 subscribers. So that's really
Almost, I don't
really
know,
cool. Yeah,
hopefully
almost,
when
almost.
this
Yeah.
when this launches I'll have 30,000, but
Right. So
around about 20.
congrats already for that.
No, I've seen your channel. It's very good, really high quality information, especially for beginners in Germany. So you're sharing a lot of information that is quite rare. That like from the beginner's perspective, a lot of people share stuff, but they're not thinking about like really beginners, very minute things. Like your recent video about the tools that you use, that was quite interesting.
Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very cool. I'm very happy that we're speaking here today. I mean, I think my viewers mostly know me. I'm just going to introduce myself briefly, very shortly. I'm Hans. I own several properties here in the south of Germany as well. Also in the Black Forest, a few. Yeah, as you said, I try to provide expats with like recommendations on how they can invest their money into real estate here in Germany. It's a very difficult topic, even for Germans, if especially if people don't speak the language. It's very difficult to actually invest in real estate here. There are a couple of questions we can go through also in this call here, which need to be answered when people want to invest here. And it's a very intransparent process how this actually works, this whole thing. There are a couple of things which I would like to cover in this call. First, I'd like to dive deeper into a little bit of real estate and why people should invest in real estate, right? I'd be especially interested in, again, then this comparison between real estate and other investment forms such as ETFs. So maybe that's something we can talk about here as well. And I'd love to get your opinion also on how you think expats or other people living in Germany as well should be investing their money, and how that process should go. So maybe that's how we can start off. And yeah, I mean, I described this just now briefly. Expats face unique challenges, right, when it comes to investing in real estate. The first barrier is, of course, the language, right, which people don't really understand. It makes things a lot more difficult, right? As you know, there are several things you have to do, right, when trying to find or buy real estate. The first thing is, of course, you have to get in touch with the broker, right? And if the broker doesn't even speak English, it's going to be very difficult for expats specifically.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe share your experience as an have you ever looked into real estate before? Have you thought about buying a property before?
Hmm. So let's take a step back before looking into like actually diving into real estate or whatever.
Hmm.
I think it's important to discuss that, as you said, language is one of the biggest barriers, if not the only barriers out there, if you're looking into real estate. But if you step back, expats, at least in the countries that are in South Asian region, or even like not necessarily the Western countries, but a lot of Asian countries, there is a concept that if you are living in a place, a city, or wherever, if you have your own real estate, this means that you have made it. Doesn't matter if you are like eating just peanuts or eating just rice and beans, and like, but you have your own investment property or your own home, then you have made it. I think this is a concept that not a lot of Germans or a lot of people here have, because a lot of people think, okay, I have to think about it as a financial transaction. I have to think, let's say, if I'm unable to like eat, if I'm unable to live a proper healthy lifestyle, I should not invest in real estate or any investment, so to speak. First comes the health, and then the investment properties or whatever. So a lot of people think about it like that. So my own opinion is, as I said, not necessarily that I should invest in, like, let's say ETFs or real estate or whatever. First, I have to think about how I am living. I have to think about myself, my family, my mental health being, and then if I am stable enough, then I'll have to look into real estate. So a lot of people, they come and they think, okay, I'm in Germany, I should just buy a property, start investing or start doing something with my money. On the other spectrum, there are a lot of people who say, I am an expat, maybe I leave tomorrow, maybe I leave in 6 months, I won't do anything, I'll just live my life, spend everything. So we need to have a proper balance in between those things. So when it comes to my mentality, I'm more in, right now, everyone's mentality changes. Right now I'm in the renters camp. So I think my money is more like validly placed in other things, for example ETFs, individual stocks, and some cryptocurrencies. So these are the three things that I'm investing in right now, but I am looking more and more towards, first, like investment properties, and then something for myself. So this is my current mindset. Maybe it'll change next week, next month, I don't know, but as I said, this is my current thought process towards investments.
Totally. No, I totally get that. And it very much depends on your personal situation, right?
Exactly.
Um, like if you are living in an apartment which is really cheap in terms of its rent, right? It really doesn't make sense to move out and find something else
Yeah.
which you would then have to buy, right? So
Mhm.
that's something which certainly needs to be considered, of course. You already touched on a few couple of interesting topics here, such as you said you're investing in ETFs. Do you want to share with us how you do that and sort of what your experience has been in the past couple of years?
Yeah. So as most people would say, I'm also one of the pandemic investors.
Okay.
When the pandemic hit, I started investing at that exact point. I was lucky that I wasn't like, before the pandemic hit, I did not actually do a lot of investments at that point. I just had my own broker account.
Mhm.
So when I started in, let's say, early 2020, I was just looking at individual stocks because everyone shares, okay, you should look into Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, stuff like that. So
Right.
when I started, I spent, I think, a couple of months looking into individual stocks and very basic swing trades.
Mhm.
I've shared a lot of that in my own videos, but I lost some money, like thinking like, okay, I can outsmart the market, I'll do some very
Right.
quick trades and buy stuff and then sell stuff. So I saw not a huge dip, but in like May of 2020, like after the pandemic like dropped, there was a huge spike in the next like a month or so, April, and then May there was also a very minute drop down. So as a beginner at that point, I lost some money, and then I started looking into, actually, okay, I'm not very good in trading stocks, or at that time I wasn't really good, because as a beginner, you think, oh, I saw a couple of videos, I read a book, and now I have all the information that I should have. And then like the plateau hit, and then the drop. So at that time I thought, okay, the information that I have is not that much. So from that time onwards, I mainly started investing in ETFs. So in terms of specific in ETFs, I'm mostly not exactly, but similar to the 70/30 uh, separation of ETFs. So 70% in the developed world and 30% in the emerging markets. And like even more specifically, I'm more towards the tech stocks.
Okay, interesting. That's also something we can discuss here in a second. But of course, for all of my viewers who don't follow Ahsan yet on his YouTube channel, of course, make sure to do so. Describes his strategies and whatever he invests in a lot more in more detail. So make sure to check out his videos as well. Very interesting. Okay, I've been basically doing the same, right? In the past years, when I was like 18 years old, I opened my brokerage account. I started investing in individual stocks, but also, of course, ETFs later on. Um, I mean, if you look at the statistics, your returns are just better over time, right? If you just invest in basic ETFs and don't try to do stock picking and try to find the good golden nugget sort of in the stock market. So it's obviously more wise to invest in ETFs in a broader market, diversify, and so on. Yes. My mindset sort of shifted in the past couple of years. Since I wanted to achieve like higher return on investments, right?
Mm,
And that's when I went from ETFs to real estate because I noticed that due to this leverage you have, because you're getting the bank's money, right? Of course, let's say, let's make a quick example, right? You buy a property for 100,000 euros. In most cases, you would get 100,000 euros from the bank, which means that you will take up this mortgage, let's say with an interest rate of 4%, and you repay 1.5% per year of that mortgage. And then you usually must cover the closing costs, which are an additional 10 to 12% with your own equity. And due to this leverage effect, by getting the bank's money, your return on investment is actually much higher. And there aren't many investment assets where you can actually do that, right? Real estate is among the only ones where you can actually do that. With stocks, you couldn't go to your bank and tell them, here, I'd like to get a mortgage in order to buy more ETFs. Let's say
Mm,
they wouldn't give it to you. But real estate in Germany is of course doable, and banks are really willing, as long as you're sort of solvent, to provide you with such mortgages. And what I was going to say initially is that you can really achieve with this leverage a really high return on investment or return on equity. Um, for example, and there are many cases out there with like even higher return on investments, like I achieved with some of my properties, of course, not with all of them. I would say the
mm,
average is like an ROI of like 15%, but you can even get up to like 40, 50% if you do it correctly. Of
mm,
course, there's a lot of work involved. It's not as passive, not nearly as passive as as stocks or ETFs might be,
mm.
which means that you would have to renovate something at some point, and obviously be in contact with the renter and so on. But that's how sort of my mindset shifted over time towards rather selling a few ETFs or stocks even to then invest in real estate. Have you ever thought about doing the same, or is that really nothing of interest to you?
No, so as I said, like my thought process, or like the strategy for building wealth in Germany has shifted as my life has like grown in Germany. Um, so as someone who comes to Germany, as I said, like someone from Asia, or at least as like the subcontinent, as we called it, like 100 years ago or whatever, there the mentality was okay. Having your own house is essential. So when I came to Germany, that was one of my biggest financial goals at that time. So I was thinking, okay, I have to look into let's say an apartment, because buying a house is, at least for a normal employee, not something that you think about in your early part of the career, because like half a million, 600,000 for a house, it's outside the realm of the possibility for a lot of people. So like in the earlier career part of my life, I was thinking about buying a house. I actually put an offer before I actually started investing in ETFs or whatever. I actually put down an offer. It was an amazing place. So um, it had, let's say, Dachgeschosswohnung. So I don't know like how you can describe it in English, but let's say it was a two-story building, and then you had this Dachgeschosswohnung, and on that floor you had two rooms, and then on top you also had this triangular part, and there it was also having a room. So this property was owned by a young couple who recently had a child, and they wanted to move out because they wanted a bigger place. So that house was 50,000 euros, and
Okay,
they had recently renovated it themselves. So it is end of 2019, and at that
okay.
time it was like 0.1 or 0.2% interest rate. So I
Mhm.
actually put down actually a really high amount on what they were asking. So they were asking 50,000, and I put down like 55,000.
Okay.
And within like 2 hours the property was sold.
Oh,
And
wow.
the
Yeah.
only thing that I did incorrectly was I did everything in English at that time.
Ah, okay. Yep.
So I
Yep.
contacted the realtor. I said everything. I'm able, like I'm putting in 55,000 cash. Like
Hmm.
I didn't have that cash at that time, but I thought that was like, at that time I had seen like multiple places, but
Hmm.
that offer was like even 5,000 above the asking price, was like crazy.
Wow.
So within
Okay.
like 2 hours the property was sold, and I did everything in English. I did not know, okay,
Mm.
uh, if that is something that you usually do. I think like usually you need money, right? So
Right. Yeah,
um,
of course. Yeah. Yeah.
but at that time I saw, okay, y- as you've also shared in a lot of your videos, you need to be really quick. I was quick within, like, the offer was posted. I called this person, the realtor, and
Hmm.
um, at that time I was actually uh, like angry, or I don't know what kind of emotions I had at that time.
Okay.
So for a couple of months I thought, okay, no, I don't want to, like, even if I'm very quick, even if I have like all of the documents, I had a
Hmm.
PR, I had like a permanent job, like
Right.
I didn't need a bank's offer. So at that time, like I was saying, it left a very bad taste in my mouth. So for a couple
Hmm.
of months I thought, okay, I don't want to do anything in terms of real estate.
Right.
Then I started investing in like stocks and ETFs. And as you shared, like having a job and then looking into something which is not necessarily active, but something in between, like real estate is not necessarily passive. Like, I don't know how you can define it in terms of percentages, but let's say if ETF investing is 99.9% passive, individual stock investing is, let's say, 60% passive. But in my mind, real estate investing is like 40 or 30% passive. That's why initially I was not that much into real estate, but then I started investing in stocks, ETFs, and some crypto. And then I started this channel, and then like it went back in my mind, not necessarily like a priority. But then since like a year and a half ago, I've started again looking into real estate investing, and not necessarily a house for myself, because in terms of tax purposes, maybe we'll discuss it later on, it's not like not a good idea actually to own your own home where you live generally. Like if it's like a goal for you, you can always look and buy something that you really like. But in terms of wealth building, I don't think personally, and I don't know if you might agree as well, that buying real estate for your own home, it's not a good idea, at least in terms of tax purposes.
Right, totally. No, I would totally underline that. You're totally correct. Maybe one thing I can add, of course, in this context is that if you buy a home for yourself, as you also mentioned just now, you can't make use of any of these tax benefits which you have if you rent out the apartment, right? And there are substantial tax benefits when it comes to real estate. Also, and that's a really other, I would say, really important advantage compared to any other asset class as well, because you can really decrease your, let's say, taxable income, let's say, from your main job by significant amounts. And just to name a few costs which you can depreciate, right? Like, for example, the interest which you have to pay on your mortgages can be fully deducted from your expenses. Same
Mhm.
goes for any renovations, for any sort of costs which are associated to the property which you rent out can be deducted. And that's a really big tax saver. And then there are some even more, like I would call them tax schemes out there, which you can apply, so-called Restnutzungsdauergutachten, or like an evaluation lifetime report. If you get one of these, you can increase the depreciation from 2 to, let's say, 8%, which is again a really big tax driver for you. And that's also not achievable with, let's say, ETFs, stocks, or whatever.
Mhm.
And that is a really big advantage. But I would, yeah, to get back to the original question, totally underline that if you want to buy sort of a house for yourself, you can do that, but it shouldn't be a priority, I would say. Especially at the beginning, I would just say, and that's something I try to bring across in all of my videos, right? Um, Try to find a small place, like it shouldn't be too big. It should be like a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment for around 150,000 euros, and just start with that one. Don't find anything fancy. It should make sure to run the numbers, of course, do the calculation, the financial analysis, and so on. And it should be around cash flow neutral, I would say, maybe a little bit of cash flow negative. Um, but it shouldn't be flashy, fancy, or whatever. Just find a basic property, let's say from the 80s, 90s, or 2000s even, because then the fundamentals of the apartment, like its inner condition, let's say the electricity, windows, the bathroom, and so on, will still be up to date. So that's something I would look for before sort of investing all of my money, and sometimes, as you said, 500,000, 600,000 euros into, let's say, my own house,
Mhm.
because that then you're really tied to your house as well, right, for the next couple of, let's say, decades. And I totally get that part about the frustration that you sort of mentioned at the beginning, right? Maybe
Mhm.
just one follow-up question. Did that broker speak English at all, or how did you sort of
So,
manage to communicate?
like I can speak very good. I won't say like very good German, but like my job is totally in German, so I function quite well in German. As I said, like my language right now is quite good. At that time, not that great, but at least I think I had B2 level of German. But for the sake of simplicity, I just called this person. I said, okay, I just talked in English. I said, I'm interested in buying this property. Are you okay with English or German? I can speak both. This lady said, I can speak English also. Yeah, she didn't have the perfect like vocabulary or whatever, but she was like, we were functioning quite well. She understood my questions. Like we discussed quite like normally, and yeah, I personally I don't think it was a language barrier, at least from my side, but it could be. One can always have a misunderstanding, but at least from our discussion, I thought we had a good discussion. Maybe like someone else came into like instead of 55, they came in at 60, 65. I don't know. It
Mm,
could be something like that because like that building, a friend of mine lived like three or four apartments away from that
mm,
building, and for sure something about like 80,000 would have been quite easily like
mm.
accepted at that time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, very interesting.
So that's why like I had actually never put up an offer or whatever. They had like a crazy like I don't know if there was like I didn't even actually look at like the fundamentals or anything. I just saw the posting.
Mhm.
I looked at like there was no data about the funds. I don't know what's it called, the funds that are with the apartment or the homeowners association.
Right.
No data whatsoever. I did not know like which bank they had a connection with, if they had this property 100% on their own. As I said, I was within the first 2 hours, saw the
Yep.
rating. I had seen the apartment myself, so that I was actually aware of that building itself.
Mhm.
So saw the rating within 2 hours, but then obviously it was too good of an offer to
Right.
like
Yeah.
miss if someone was
Yeah.
actually looking.
And that's sometimes the case, right? I mean, sometimes it takes just a few hours and then the property's gone or
Yeah.
almost already sold, right? Like the
Mm.
really good offers are going to be gone within just like 2 or 3 hours. That's
Maybe even like
pretty crazy.
thinking about it right now, maybe it was like they had a buyer already lined up,
Mhm.
and maybe they wanted to negotiate the price up, so they lowballed themselves, added
Right.
a post so that they can get like counter offers. Maybe that could be a reason, because I did
Yeah.
not understand like the house or the apartment was quite well renovated. In
Yeah.
the pictures, the couple said that they had renovated the house themselves,
Mhm.
so I wasn't exactly sure why they like, but like the realtor that was showing this is a quite reputable one, like
Okay.
the company,
Right.
not the
Yeah.
specific person. The company is quite reputable. I have a lot of friends and like colleagues who have used their services, so it's a
Yep.
it's a big realtor in the Black Forest region. You might know them, but I
I
won't share the
probably
name.
know them. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. 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 Okay,
So,
interesting. Yeah, very cool. Well, fingers crossed that you're going to find something else at some point if
yeah,
you want to look for it actively again. Of course, yeah, it's a lot of work as well, right? It's not as simple as with ETFs or stocks where you can just log
yeah,
into
for
your
sure,
brokerage
absolutely.
account and click on buy for, I don't know, ETF, MSCI World or whatever. It's
And then
just you
you
got to
bought it.
put in, right? Yeah, yeah. It's just a little bit more effort you have to put in,
Mhm,
set up search engines on Immo Scout, compare different listings, do the
mhm.
analysis, go to the viewing, which is a whole separate part. And
If you
once
get if you get
if
an
you get
invite,
it,
like,
yes, yes,
a
correct.
lot of
Yeah.
times you don't even get an invite, like.
That's why I always, if I find a really interesting listing, I always just call the broker immediately. Of
Mhm,
course, you need to send them a message on ImmoScout, and that's sort of one requirement they have, so that they can be sure that they actually get the provision in case they would sell the property to you.
mhm,
That's why I first initially sent the message requesting all of the documents first, and if it's a really good offer, I call them right afterwards. And I
mhm.
really get on their nerves. Like if I don't reach them the first time, I call them 5 minutes afterwards, and another 5 minutes later,
Mm,
and so on, just to make sure that I really get the viewing and be one of the first people among the audience who can really have a view at the apartment.
yeah, that's important, I guess.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we're already running out of time a little bit. Ahsan, thank you so much for being in this call and also sharing sort of how you dealt with finding real estate and how you also invest in ETFs at the moment. Thanks so much for sharing your experience. Again, shout out to your channel. If you haven't, or if my viewers haven't seen you before, make sure to go on his channel, Ahsan Finance on YouTube here, of course. And check out his videos if you're interested in investing in real estate, in ETFs, stocks, and other asset classes. So make sure to check out his videos.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. And it was a very interesting conversation. And hopefully, we can have more.